Thank you for attending today's webinar. We will begin shortly. Thank you once again for attending today's webinar from American Hole-in-One, which is hosted by the shop, powered by ForDirect. Presenting today from American Hole-in-One is Rick Ruiz. If you have any questions for Rick during the presentation, please type them into your webinar toolbar. Now, Rick, over to you.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot, John. So happy to be here and talking about what we do. It seems apropos, being that it's Masters Week, that we'd have some golf topics to talk about in the shop. And so again, happy to be here and go through this presentation. We've got it slotted for somewhere around 30 minutes. Want to make sure everybody knows we're certainly want it to be conversational. So if along the way a question or thought comes to mind, you can type it in, and Taylor, who you can probably see on your screen, is going to field those questions and either stop and we'll answer them, or we'll gather them and make sure we answer them at the end of the presentation. So real quickly, I'll just get us going here. Let me move this forward. So this is kind of what we're going to do today on this webinar in the time that we have. I'm going to introduce myself and Taylor and our company, and then talk a little bit about what is hole-in-one insurance. Although it seems very easy to understand, just really going down to the principles of it being actually insurance. Talk about why the insurance is beneficial to the auto industry and dealers specifically with their sponsorships. Clarity on how it works. You know, people buy hole-in-one insurance, and a lot of times they don't have a winner, and so they kind of just transact and don't really get down to the meat and potatoes on how it actually works in the event that that there is a hole-in-one that occurs. And then this, if I were to leave anything in impression-wise for this group, is the importance of selecting the right provider, whether it's American Hole-in-One or anybody else. Just like when you buy insurance, picking the right insurance provider is critical. And like I said, Prize Insurance, Prize Indemnity is insurance just like any other. So this is what we'll do in 30 minutes that we have. Again, open to questions along the way. Hope to make it a fun conversation. It's golf. It's about as fun as insurance as you can talk about around the sports and around hole-in-one. So with that, I'll get started. I'll introduce myself first, and then I'll let Taylor talk about herself, and then we'll talk a little bit about the company. So my name is Rick Ruiz. My background is deep in the insurance industry. Out of college, I went straight to work for Zurich, North America. I spent 20 years in large commercial insurance. After that, I ran a claims organization for about 7 years, specific to homogeneous business in the auto industry. And then about 8 years ago, got a phone call saying, "Hey, Rick, are you familiar with a company called American Hole-in-One in Atlanta, Georgia?" And I was, because of its interaction with the auto industry, and I was familiar with the auto industry. "Hey, we're buying this company. Would you like to come be a part of that and run it?" Easy answer, yes, of course. You know, packed up my blue blazer, threw it in the closet, put on a polo, and here I am. And so it's been a great journey. The neatest part for me is being able to intersect a deep background in traditional commercial insurance with the sports industry, and how those two really should mesh to provide our customers with the best, exciting coverage, but also the best coverage should they have a claim or a loss. So with that, I'll pass it over to Taylor, talk a little about her role, and then we'll get right into it.
Hi, everyone. So like Rick mentioned, I'm Taylor Reed, and I'm currently the Director of Revenue Operations at American Hole-in-One, and I lead our partnership with ForDirect. So what I do is I help us get partnerships like this one up off the ground so we can have turnkey billing, make the relationship really easy. And I'm also always here for questions that come up. We're really excited to be the preferred hole-in-one vendor in the shop. And so far, we kicked this off in January, and it's been a really welcoming reception by both Ford dealers and Lincoln retailers. So looking forward to keeping that rolling into this golf season. Like Rick mentioned, I'll be manning the chat today. So toss a question in there and I'll make sure we get to it.
Okay, awesome, Taylor, thanks. Okay, so just real quick, wanted to tell you about American Hole-in-One, so there's a little bit of credibility on who you're listening to about Hole-in-One. This will really be the only place where it might feel like I'm plugging American Hole-in-One. I'm really interested more in educating and being a partner in this partnership around the insurance side of it. Like I said earlier, if it's us or somebody else, it's just really important that the dealer and the brands recognize the right way to buy the product, a hole-in-one insurance or prize indemnity. So just want to give you this bit of information so you see that you're getting it from a reliable source. American Hole-in-One's been around since 1986. We're the largest and longest standing hole-in-one insurance and prize indemnity provider in the world. We do about 20,000 events a year. Of those events, about 17,000 of them are in the US, and the other 3,000 are abroad, mostly between Canada, Mexico, and Australia. We do business in other countries too, but just on a much smaller volume. Our biggest, obviously, is the United States. Then Canada, Mexico, and Australia kind of filter in behind that. We've been working with the auto industry since the beginning of our business. We were actually the first ones to create an auto-centric hole-in-one package. We've been a member of the National Auto Dealer Association for over 20 years, so we're in the same space that you guys are in, and therefore, we feel like we align really well when it comes to partnering. We're fully licensed in all 50 states. You'll hear more about that later, as I was telling you earlier, about just making sure you're buying it from the right place. To provide insurance, you have to have a license. You have to be able to consult on insurance. When you go buy any type of insurance, you should be buying it from a licensed insurance agent or agency. We have capacity up to $25 million. So in the event of a big risk, whether it be hole-in-one or a different type of promotion that you may do at your dealership, where, for instance, anybody who bought a car in December and it snows on Christmas gets their money back, right? That's conditional rebate type of stuff. You have to have capacity to do big limits, which we do. And everything that we do is fully insured. Everest National Insurance Company is the paper behind us. They are AM Best Plus domestic carrier. So anything that leaves a building at American Hole-in-One is fully insured and governed by the insurance regulations in each individual state. So that's a great thing to pull out of the quiver there. And our net promoter score is 9.5 out of 10. Our customers say we do a good job. You don't get a 9.5 out of 10 if you're not doing a great job. And so we're excited to be talking to you today. That was my spiel on our company. Now let's talk about hole-in-one insurance. So what is hole-in-one insurance? I'm sure most of you on the call and that will be listening to this later understand really what it is. It's a very simple thing to talk about. We're not touching brains here. We're insuring, the ball going in a hole, right? But the hole-in-one insurance itself and the hole-in-one promotions have been around for a long, long time, especially in the auto industry. The auto industry is the largest vertical that's asked to sponsor it at golf outings, charitable golf outings. And so by virtue of that, it's the biggest buying group of hole-in-one insurance in the country. And a lot of it is the dealers get to use this as an opportunity to grassroots market, to get exposure to their brand, to their dealership, and really get in front of a very desirable demographic, the tournament golfer. And so I have a slide coming up that kind of goes through some of the economics about that demographic, but it's a great demographic to put your vehicle in front of or your sponsorship in front of because they can buy what you guys are selling. And then definition of hole-in-one insurance, I try to focus on this a little bit only because I think when you think about hole-in-one and prizes and putting a car out there, you think of it as a lot of people do as monopoly money or fun money, and it's not really an insured product. It 100% is insurance, right? You're still transferring risk. And so it's a form of insurance called prize indemnity, which is indemnification of a prize loss, if you will. If you had to give a car away, you would lose the value of that car. You're buying insurance that will replace you to make you whole again for the value of that prize that you put out there as a sponsorship. So it 100% is an insurance product that protects the dealership or any sponsor for that matter of the risk of awarding that prize if the ball goes in the hole. So that's really the insurance-y end of understanding what hole-in-one insurance is. Okay. The tournament golfer I just referred to, this is why, dealers, really like it. I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir. If you're on this call, you probably either are doing it or thinking about doing it for this very reason. The tournament golfer is a very desirable demographic to a lot of retail offerings, right? I mean, you got a average net worth of $768,000. The average income is over 200% of a non-golfer. 1 in every 4 golfers is a woman, which I believe that number is even ticking up because of the influx of women and minorities into the sport. You're seeing a lot of spread demographically. And then, the one at the bottom on the right, 75%, these are people that make decisions, right? They decide whether they're going to buy something or not for their business or their home. They're a decision maker. And so if you're in the market for a car or looking to make a change, who better to have, looking at it than somebody who can make the decision to buy it, right? So it's just a great demographic. And this will be in the slideshow. We're going to send everybody at the end, but it's a good tool to kind of justify, hey, why are we doing this? Because we want these type of people to see our brand and our products out there, year in and year out. Why do dealers need hole-in-one insurance? This, obviously is blocking and tackling stuff. If you're thinking about insurance, you need it because the ball does go in the hole, right? And if it goes in the hole and you don't have insurance, you're on the hook, right? You're responsible for that prize or the value of that prize to the winner because you put the vehicle out there as a prize on that hole. I put some odds on here just to give some context as to the frequency in which hole-in-ones happen. 1 in 11,000 amateur shots is a hole-in-one. 1 in 7,500 pro shots, club pros and regular pros, goes in the hole, and 1 in 2,500 tour shots goes in the hole. We saw tours hitting them this week practicing at the Masters. I mean, there was, it's fun to watch, but it does happen, right? And so when it does happen, you don't want to get caught not having insurance or not having insurance in the right place. I got a little image there on the right, which I'm sure maybe some of you have seen. This, was an example of a dealer that had a vehicle out there and didn't have insurance on it, didn't think somebody would actually hit a hole-in-one, and the ball went in the hole. And it was a terrible experience for the dealer, only because he didn't want to give his car away, and he got decimated on social media and press and so forth. So we don't want that kind of thing to happen, which is why I love doing these webinars, because we want to make sure we're protecting you and we're protecting the brand in the event that something happens. And I just, the bottom paragraph there just refers to what I was alluding to, is that the financial risk is obvious. I got a $40,000 truck out there and I didn't have insurance. I'm gonna have to give that $40,000 away. It's a loss. But even more than that, the social and media implications can actually cost you a lot more than that in lost business, in community opinion, and so on, because of the negative press that can happen. So long story short here, it's not worth saving a couple $100 not to get the insurance. Get the insurance every time and get it from somebody who's going to be there when you have a ball go in the hole. Okay, I'm going to slow down a little bit in case questions come up, because I can get excited about this stuff and move quick. All right, so how much does it cost for hole-in-one insurance? Great question, right? People, it varies, but it's pretty simple to think about how the industry comes up with rates. There's 3, common prizes that come out of the auto industry, and you can choose which one you want. But obviously, one is to put a vehicle out there. Hey, I want to insure this 2025 Ford F-150, and it's $70,000. Or I want to insure a 2-year lease on an F-150, and it's $30,000. Or I want to put money towards a purchase or lease of any vehicle that I have, right? So now you can say I want $25,000 towards the purchase of a vehicle. I don't have to determine whether it's going to be an F-150 or an SUV or a car. What do I want to put out there? I don't have to determine that, because I can have the sign be money towards. You're going to get a fleet shot out there, and then if the ball goes in the hole, they've got money to come put towards a purchase at your dealership. And so those 3 things are the most common choices you make. Obviously, the amount of those prizes are one of the factors in coming up with the cost of the insurance. So how is the premium calculated? The 3 things below are really the crux of how companies like us and Everest come up with your rate. It's the number of shots or participants that are taking the shot. So you got a field of golfers of X number, right? Average that we see is between 100 and 120 golfers. What's the value of the prize I'm putting out there? I'm going to put a $70,000 Ford F-150 out there. And then the distance of the shot, right? So how far is a shot? The difficulty of the shot based on that distance is the other factor. You take all three of those things and you're going to come out with a rate for that risk. And we've got so much data that it's tremendously predictable, which is why we can come up with these rates pretty tight, because it's very easy based on data points of risk. So those are the main ones that you would get to get a cost. At the bottom, I just made a couple other references, depending on what type of events you get asked to participate in. If there's going to be pros playing in it, obviously the insurance company wants to know, because the risk changes based on the odds. If certain athletes or celebrities, if you're avid golfers, you know that there are certain athletes that are really good golfers as well. I'm in Atlanta, so I think of John Smoltz and Maddox, Braves, that used to be real popular down here, they're the stick, man, they can play. Those guys show up at a tournament, we want to know about it so that we can underwrite for those particular individuals. If it's in a simulator, it's a little different risk, right? Because you don't have grass and all the real factors of being on a course. We still do them, but we want to know if it's happening in a simulator. And then obviously if it's at a PGA or LIV type of event, we certainly want to know those things as well, so we can underwrite them differently. But for the normal charity event that a car dealer's at, those three things right there are really how the rate's going to be derived. All right. Next, how does the process work? Again, this is not complicated stuff, but we want to make it hit home that it still is buying an insurance policy, and then what happens when I buy it. So choosing the correct provider. Like I said before, whether it's us or anybody else in the market, do your due diligence, make sure that you're picking the right provider, and that they're familiar with the industry, and that they are, they're licensed and can provide that insurance in the event there's an issue. You want to have some sort of governance that you can go back to. You'll provide the event details, right? So you're going to probably get this from a tournament director if it's not your actual event, but this will be, where is it taking place? What's the date is taking place? How many golfers? What's the prize, right? So all the nuts and bolts that will allow them to issue you a quote for the hole-in-one insurance, or us to issue you a quote. And then once you get that, it's really important to review it, right? Again, like I said before, it's hole-in-one insurance. People just, oh, okay, get the coverage and go, and sometimes don't spend the time to look at it. But if that ball goes in the hole and the date was on there wrong, the hole location was incorrect, the amount of coverage wasn't correct, or the witness requirements, you weren't familiar with them, all those things can affect the outcome of a claim if the ball goes in the hole. So just like when you insure your car or your home and you put a value on it and your address and all that stuff, you want to make sure to take a minute, scan it, it's accurate before you buy it. And you say, yep, it's all good, it checks out, then you buy the insurance. Then you're going to get your policy or your contract. And then lastly put on there is to share that information, if you're not the tournament director, with the tournament director, right? Because just because you know the witness requirements and you know the hole it's supposed to be on, doesn't necessarily always translate to the tournament director doing the right things. And so that there's no mistake, make sure the tournament director knows all the details as well. So he puts the car on the correct hole at the correct distance, right? So when a ball does go in the hole, it's all neat and easy and everybody's excited, and the claim goes through really, really fast because everybody was all synced up, right? And then another thing I didn't put on here, but Taylor and I were just talking about before we got on here, was with the number of events we do with auto dealers, we talk to our customers all the time, and there's certain dealers that do a whole bunch of them. We try to learn why and learn from our customers. And one of the things that we hear a lot of is the success they have when they actually attend the event, right? So it's not one of these things, how does it work? But I thought I'd throw that in there. A lot of times, if this is new to you or you're trying to figure out how to grow or get more out of them, is sending a rep to the event, sitting on the hole, shaking hands, handing out cards, getting information at the hole. You get obviously a little bit more entrenched in the event itself and meeting people, and the success of turning that into metal moving out of your dealership goes up. Okay. How do I choose the right insurance provider? So this is really the crux of why we wanted to do this webinar for you guys, is just making sure that when you pick insurance, you're thinking about it as insurance and not as just fun coverage, right? So I'm going to talk briefly about these things. I don't want to throw a bunch of words out there, so I'll try not to belabor the points, but I'm going to hit each one of these. And again, if there's any questions now or later, certainly bring them up. Love to talk about this stuff. So low barrier to entry, hole-in-one insurance has a very low barrier to entry. So if you've been around a while and you've probably been marketed to by 100 hole-in-one insurance companies, right? It's just, there's such a low barrier to get into it from a regulatory standpoint, from a financial standpoint, that you got, two guys in a garage in South Florida opening a hole-in-one insurance company, right? And they're sending you an email or blast. So you're going to see people come in and out of the space. So you have to be careful of that, because you want to be with somebody who's got insurance, who's got longevity, and is not in and out of this thing, one big loss and they're gone, right? So we've been doing it forever. Every year since I've been here, there's probably 2 or 3 that show up and 2 or 3 that are gone. And so there's that risk because of the low barrier to entry. So take your time and make sure you're selecting the right provider. The middle one there, licensed provider of insurance in your state. We've actually picked up a lot of program business, a lot of big business, because once they had a loss or the insurance department got involved in a particular state and realized that the provider they were using isn't licensed in that state to sell insurance, there's a problem, right? So just make sure whatever state you're in, whatever agency or entity you're getting your hole-in-one insurance from, has a license to sell insurance in that state. So that, again, if there's ever a problem, you can always go to your insurance department for your state, because you bought it from a licensed agency or agent, and therefore you have that oversight by an agency. To the right of that, is it really insured? This sounds silly to say, but there's a lot of people in our space that are taking that risk on their own. So they're not really insuring it for you. So you got those same 2 guys in a garage in South Florida, might not even have an insurance policy. They're collecting revenue or premium from people buying the insurance, putting it in a bucket, and then paying out losses out of that same bucket, but there's no insurance. And so those guys are playing in the gray, because all it takes is one big hit and they're out, right? Or a state where the insurance department regulates prize indemnity and there's trouble, right? So make sure that it's insurance and that it's insured by, I would suggest, obviously an A+ company or better, but just make sure that whatever product you're putting your car to be covered by is insured. Size and financial strength, again, blocking and tackling. When you're buying your car insurance, your home insurance, you're not buying it from somebody you've never heard of, that you found, online, that doesn't have any, strength, if you will, in the insurance industry, just because you saw it. You're going to look and say, hey, wait a minute, who is this company? How long have they been around? What are they rated? Do they have customer reviews? All that stuff. Make sure that the company is there when you have a claim, right? Because sometimes when you buy cheaper, you're getting cheaper because they're not going to be there. So financial strength and size, obviously, in the insurance industry as a whole, not just in prize indemnity, is a strength. The other 2 are more specific. The hole-in-one prize insurance specification or specialization means, there are agencies that sell hole-in-one insurance as an ancillary product, but they really don't know prize indemnity. And so the same guy you're getting your business insurance from or your homeowner's insurance from is probably not the guy you want to buy prize insurance from, because he just doesn't know the nuances around the specifics of a prize indemnification policy. And so you might have some gaps in there that you don't want to get caught with in the event. So pick a company that knows prize indemnity. And then for what we do with the auto industry and what you guys do, it always helps to have somebody understand the auto industry and know the vernacular and know how to cover losses for the auto industry. So, what's the difference in MSRP and invoice? What's additional equipment? How do you have in the event of independent appraisal is needed? What all the different things around the auto industry that make it important, and also understand how to help the auto industry. For instance, we've done things with partners where last year there was a partner of ours that was having a hard time with some of their EVs moving, and so we put together a special offering. If you put an EV out at your event, we gave it really reduced pricing for the dealers, so there was a motivation to get more of those out there. And it actually worked and had a tremendous success pushing some of those EVs out at the end of the year last year, because we've featured it in an additional quote unquote, year-end program for hole-in-one. So knowing the auto industry certainly can help with stuff like that. Okay, next, I won't go through these. This is more about, I wanted to give this to you as a tool since you guys are going to get this deck, but really, why should you buy from a provider that's a licensed insurance agent? These are the reasons why. They're obvious reasons. They're the same reason you would do it for any of your personal or business insurance. It should be the same reason why you would buy prize indemnity insurance. That way, you want to make sure that if something were to happen, that you're buying it from the right entity. That blue link there is ours, selfishly, just so you could see what it could look like. If you click on that, it comes to our website, goes to every one of our states. You click on that state that you're in, it'll actually pull up our license for that state. If you're not getting that from whoever you're buying it from, you should try to get that, because that's important to you to know that the person you're buying it from, the entity you're buying it from, is licensed to sell insurance. And so that's more there for a tool for you guys. This is a quick snippet of the hole-in-one package itself that goes out for Ford dealers and Lincoln retailers. It's a package we developed for you guys, specific program pricing. So we've taken the pricing down to our most aggressive pricing. And we also have a price match guarantee, which I'm sure you guys have seen in the shop. If there is a price that's lower than we were coming up with in your program, we will bring it down 10% less than that price. So we don't want you to go buy something substandard just because the price is lower than ours. We'd rather give you a chance to test drive our program. We'll match the price, get our signs, get our stuff, get the feeling of what it takes when you do business with us. And we're certain that you want to keep buying again and again. Obviously, the insurance comes with it. The golf appreciation cards is that image to the right. These are handed out to every single golfer courtesy of your sponsorship. So it's going to say courtesy of today's sponsoring dealer, and these are savings for each golfer to shop at these these known brands that we partner with to provide this extra value to the package itself. We provide additional par 3 contests for every other par 3 on the course. So if there's 3 or 4 additional par 3s on the course, they'll get an extra contest for a different, an ancillary prize. Again, it'll say courtesy of Ruiz Ford, right? So it's courtesy of you. So you look like a feature sponsor. You're getting the main hole with a car or truck. Then you're getting these additional holes with a big sign that's courtesy of your dealership as well. So those will be seen there. And if somebody hits a hole in one of those holes, they do win these prizes. It could be a year supply of golf balls. And this True is a big golf brand. Revo sunglasses. The one on the left is Shot Scope. It's a technology play with rangefinders and watch and so on. All of that feels and looks like it was provided out of your sponsorship, and it's a great addition. And then the signage is obviously one of the things we do great. We have our own sign shop that we manufacture everything here ourselves, and we're our only customer, right? So everything we do is built around providing the best package for hole-in-one. And so all of our signs are not on H-frames stopped in the ground like a pizza box. These are anchored in the ground. They're either two-sided or have the flaps on the side, as you can see in the image. So they're good and solid. They're 3 feet wide, so they're big and visible. They're clear coated. They're tremendous signs. There's an arrow that comes out. You put that in front of the vehicle, obviously, win this thing. The thing on the right is new, and we've heard tremendous things from Ford dealers because of the reason. These are clings, because I'm preaching to the choir here, but magnets don't stick to cars and trucks anymore. We still have them, and if it's a desire you want, we can certainly include a magnet, but we transitioned to clings, and so every package comes with a set of clings that will stick to a window, to the door, to the tailgate, to any part of the vehicle. It's a cling, and it comes on and off, but once it comes off, you can throw it away, because your next sponsorship, you get it again. And so it's been greatly received because it looks just like our magnets do. They're big, and they look like the kind of magnets you see on the side of a car at the local fair, but instead they're made out of cling material so that they will adhere to the vehicle, and obviously they don't damage the vehicle because they're made out of cling. So that's kind of a quick picture of what the dealer would get, or what you would get buying the hole-in-one coverage from us. And again, on the back end of that comment about the sign shop, we're very, very nimble because we do our own signs. So if some reason, oh my gosh, I got an event in 2 days, what do? We can get it to you. We just overnight them to you because we make them here. We're not dependent on some third party getting the signs over. So in the auto industry, we understand sometimes you get these requests last minute, or you get busy at the end of the month close out and you didn't get it in time, that's fine. It's what we do. We've been doing it. We can be very, very nimble in that regard. And that's really it. I've got some other slides past this that I'll include in there that are more about American Hole-in-One. Again, the intent was not to feel like I'm trying to sell you American Hole-in-One. I'm really trying to help educate the auto industry and educate Ford and Lincoln dealers on the importance of picking the right provider for your hole-in-one insurance. Obviously, we hope that it's American Hole-in-One when you go through the evaluation of who should be handling it. But I didn't want to spend a lot of time going through those. So again, when you get this deck, you'll see 2 or 3 additional slides about who we are in the auto industry, how long we've been doing things, outlining certain programs that we have, that kind of stuff. That'll give you a little more context about us. And then, of course, you can always go to our website, which is www.hio.com, HIO as in whole in one. It's an easy one to remember, and you can buy online there or you can call. And our customer service, one of the ones that do this as well, is 24/7 live person. So you're not going to have to chat in. You can, but you don't have to. If you want to talk to a human and say, hey, I want to do this, or I got a question, or I got a problem, there's going to be a person or persons that can help you. So that is my spiel. Taylor, anything?
Yeah, we had one question come in just asking around if prices are listed on the website or if we provide quotes. We 100% provide quotes. We actually have a quoting widget right on our website. But to Rick's point, Ford dealers and Lincoln retailers do get really aggressive and premium pricing with us. So to get that discounting, go ahead and call or email in. Or if you continue to buy online or buy through the shop, you'll see it there once you select a Ford or Lincoln vehicle as your price. The discounting will be applied. And then, Rick, I think one thing I want to touch on too is that I know we get a lot is what happens if the number of participants changes or you need to make a last minute change to the tournament?
Yeah, so very easy. So because we understand when you're booking the coverage, you may not have that number hard and steady, right? We book it based on the number you give us, and there's a grace about 10%. So if the swing of additional players goes up less than 10%, we're good. If it goes up more than that, we just ask and we make the adjustment. You call us in and we make the adjustment. And what was the other part of the question?
Like if an event gets canceled or rained out or any changes happen there.
Yeah, if it gets canceled or rained out, if it's canceled, then we do 100% refund of the premium, or we'll issue it as a credit for you to use at your next event. Most times you find that they get postponed because these events really need the fundraising that they're set up to do. So, oh, it rained on this day, we're going to move it. And so we just move your coverage to that date and we redo the signs and so on to accomplish that. But if the event doesn't happen, certainly we don't charge for it. That's understanding the business. And again, we can either issue a refund or a credit. It really depends on how many events you do or how you want to use that that refund.
Great. Yeah, and I see Michael followed up here about the quotes. And he asked, do you bill through Ford or do we send payment to you? I'll take this one, Rick. So
Sure.
we can do either, right? So you can pay via credit card on the phone or when you get your contract, or we do have the ability to use part statement billing, and we'll put your P&A code in there and you will receive it on your part statement billing.
Yep.
Yep. No
Yeah, the
problem,
other thing I
Michael.
would invite you to do too is if you're interested in receiving a signed package from us. In other words, hey, I want to see what this looks like. What's going to show up at an event when I buy hole-in-one insurance from this company? We'll gladly send you a signed package to your dealership so you can get one that has all the signs, has the clings, has the arrows, everything. So when you open it up, you can see what your on-course marketing package, if you will, looks like when it arrives at an event with your name on it. And so I would open that up at no cost to you, obviously, just so you could see it. It would be just to email in or call in to maybe Taylor, maybe you can handle those, where we make sure to get those out in time for you to see them. So 100% would love to do it at no cost to you guys. We'll absorb that just so you guys can see how great those packages are.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that covers the majority of questions that we've come in. You answered a bunch in your presentation, Rick. So do you have anything else for us today?
For me, I would just say we're excited to be part of Ford Direct. I'm really, I use the word stoked because it sounds bad, but I'm stoked about the traffic already coming to us based on the NADA interaction we had at the pop-up there, and just Ford dealers responding to having a choice and being able to look at American Hole-in-One for their Hole-in-One stuff. So anything we can do to earn the business and show you how great we are, we will do it. We're excited to be a part of it. Really excited to support Ford Direct. I think their vision for what they're trying to do for Ford dealers and Lincoln retailers is awesome, and we're excited to be on the front end of it and hope to be here for a long time.
Yeah, and I'll add one thing to that is be on the lookout for some upcoming programs. I know Rick mentioned we've worked with a different OEM to push EVs. We're also going to be looking to do some of that stuff with you and the Ford Power Promise. So we will, start putting together hole-in-one packages to really help drive sales goals with Ford and with Lincoln to make sure you're meeting your goals as well. So look out for those. Those will be coming up in the next few months here. And yeah, to echo what Rick said, it's been a great start and we look forward to continue to work with you guys.
Rick and Taylor, thank you for your time today. Great information. For our attendees today, thank you for being on the call today. You'll receive an email in the next couple of days with a link to this webinar recording that you can watch on demand. And we'll include a link to Rick and Taylor's presentation. And always remember to go to theshop.com for more information about American Hole-in-One. Have a great day.
Thank you.